Well, good morning, preppers. I am Mark, the Prepper Guy. So, thought I'd have my cup of joe. Well, one of five. And I slept like a rock this morning, like all last night. My wife goes to bed usually about 9:30, 10 is a late night, because she gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and takes the dogs out and does all their business, and then she starts reading and doing what she does. And I don't like getting up that early. Even in the summer, I'll get up 5:36, because we usually have things to do. Like if you've seen my house addition, at 1,600 feet, took us 2 years to build. Now we built from footing to the roof, and everything in between, the walls, the subfloors, the trusses, drywall, the electrical, the AC, HV, ductwork and all that. We had a friend install the unit because he's way better at that. And so I'm not lazy per se, I just don't like mowing grass because it kind of sucks. I'm allergic to Bermuda grass and we have a lot of it. So rather than not be able to breathe for the next week, I try to avoid doing that. But today I woke up at about 7:45. I was like, what? And I had the covers over my head. I didn't know, because the morning sun usually comes right in our bedroom window. And I was like, wow, how did I do that? I asked my wife if she drugged me last night or something, slipped me a Mickey, so I'd just go to bed. And usually she goes to bed, like I say, maybe 10. I'll stay up another hour. I've been watching the series on abandoned, or mysteries of the abandoned big buildings and bunkers and stuff like that all over the world. And their politics about these bunkers is usually pretty bad. They talked about one in Finland that Russia still wants to invade Finland. If Russia wanted Finland, they would just take it. I mean, that could be before morning coffee, speaking of coffee. So it's a good series, but last night I think I went to bed maybe a half hour after her. I was pretty tired, and I just died. I passed out so good. And maybe it was, what I had to eat all day. I didn't eat carbs, which I rarely do. I didn't have a lot of coffee, which I do put a little sugar in my cups of coffee. But for the most part, I eat, that many carbs a day. Maybe, a total of less than 100 grams of carbs in a day. So maybe yesterday was a good day and my body came around to the fact that, I'm taking good care of myself and I slept like a rock. Tomorrow morning I'll be up at fucking 5 o'clock like her. I don't get up, but I toss and turn and, all that shit. So, I got up and I'm watching a little bit about the news. So I got a few things I wanted to highlight on, which is kind of what I've been doing lately. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the deep state and deep fake or Deepseek or deep whatever AI. And I'm wondering if AI is going to become the new boogeyman now that China has just blew the doors off of, AI technology by producing it for 6 million instead of 600 million. And everyone's freaking out. So Nvidia's stock dropped. I think they lost $600 billion last night while we were all asleep, which probably bummed them out, And so now the whole conversation is, oh my God, China is, got this AI and it's cheaper than ours. And so that causes people to wake up, like, wait a minute, we're not that cool. NVIDIA is not the end-all be-all to AI. What does that mean? And China's producing it faster, better, and cheaper again. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to start to poo-poo AI. Like, look, AI is important and it's the new trend, but we have to keep an eye on it, and we need to put a lid on that because China is dominating the market, and we don't like China. See, the last election was Russia, 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 2020 when they, cheated and won. And now it's, going to be China, 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 which we've seen coming because, there's not much we can do with Russia. I mean, they're doing what they're doing, and they're going to continue to do what they do, and that's going to be that. And they're going to win the war in Ukraine, and, you could sit there and say China, is not as bad as Russia, but it can be to the Pentagon and Warhawks. It can be because they do everything better than us, which is kind of freaking people out in the Pentagon. So why not just start, find a boogeyman, AI. Everybody likes AI. It's like, the new girl in school. Everyone's checking her out. And then all of a sudden they're going to go, yeah, but she's Chinese. Oh, you don't want to have Chinese kids running around, do you? Whatever. So I think, we, America and NATO, have realized that a confrontation with Russia would be very suicidal financially, militarily, everything. It would show our cards that we are or have allowed ourselves to become militarily weak as fuck. And so we're going to take all of our attention and go, what's that? China, AI. I like AI. No, you can't like AI. Why the fuck not? So that's my prediction for 2025, is AI is going to become the new boogeyman. And, I'm thinking, I got my notes over here, so let me kind of look at. So I'm thinking this panic with AI is going to be used as misdirection to get us all freaking out somewhere, and then therefore we can start reconsidering going to war with China because AI, so you're going to see hacks and things like that are going to be blamed on China's new AI that can just break code like that. So can ours, but it's not like ours just went away and became irrelevant in the dustbin of history. No, AI in America is going to continue to break codes and spy on you and me, but they want to take the light off of that now and shine it on Russia because it used to, on China. Take the light off of us and Russia and shine it onto China and start going, look, we need to watch out for them. Them people are dangerous, and they're lucky, and they're producing this AI. They must have stole that technology from NVIDIA, whatever. So people are not paying attention to China, that they have 3 nanometer microchips now, and the one company that makes that $1 billion machine in Sweden or Finland or Belgium or wherever that fucking thing is made, that's the only one that can print those chips that small. China is producing their own also, because if they can make a machine, so can China. And so China doesn't want Taiwan anymore for their chip capabilities, because, well, what the fuck for? They're doing better. The cost of going to war with Taiwan for a month, they could build 100 chip factories, because it's expensive to go to war, as we all know. So that's where the misdirection is going to start turning your head, because they don't want you to see the other things that are happening, like, well, Remax, for one. So I think the next thing to look out for is going to be domestic issues where they can misdirect us away from the AI thing that we're losing, if you want to call it a battle of technologies. We've pretty much lost that one. So Now it's going to be, other things, domestic things. Remax says that 70% over, let me look at my little note here, over 71% of their agents last year, and Remax is big, closed 0 deals or contracts last year in 2024. So I know Biden was doing great with the economy, right? He did so good that 70%, almost a third of all of Remax's agents closed no deals last year. I don't know how they're even eating. I guess they got day jobs or something at Starbucks, because what the fuck else are they doing it? So that's a big deal. And so what are they going to do for their jobs? I guess that kind of explains the next thing I wanted to chit-chat a little bit about is we need to keep an eye on the banks, because they're not closing deals just because people don't want houses, or Remax has some shitty agents that just can't listen to what people want. No, banks aren't lending money, and Trump is demanding that we bring in, the interest rates down, because he wants free money. That's the way it was when he was the president in 16, 17, 18, and 19, was negative rates almost. I mean, banks or businesses like Amazon and them were basically getting paid to borrow government money to buy these bonds. And since there was no money to be made in a bond, I mean, it's like buying stock in a bankrupt company that has no gain. They were getting paid to do that. They're like, well, you want to borrow $100 billion, we'll give you $120 billion, and we'll just say you owe us $100 billion. So that's how Amazon and all these companies got to grow, and our stock market became so overinflated. I mean, you can't come up with a fair analysis of what a stock costs. I mean, if I had, Mark Boyle Corporation, and I'm selling stocks, and I want to raise $1 million because I'm not a big company, then I would sell 1 million shares of stocks for $1. And then with that money, I would buy assets and resources and infrastructure and all that to build my company out. Well, it's pretty easy to say he has this much in sales and this much in equipment and assets, that his stock is worth $1. Now I go out and find something that's worth a lot of money, and all of a sudden I'm making a lot of money, and now my company's worth $2 million, then my stock is now worth $2 a share, because there's only 1 million of them out there. But if we start lying and inflating and going, well, I just feel so good about Mark, I'm going to pay $10 a share, then it starts becoming like Bitcoin, which is not real. It's just the last sucker that bought it for 100,000 is now the new price. So now everybody runs out and buys more, because you're not going to sell it for 100,000. You might take some gains, but for the most part, you're going to sell it for a big profit. So you're going to wait. You're going to hold on to it. Well, the stock market's kind of that way, and these banks, they run the world. I mean, don't get confused. The bankers, or the deep state, have run the world for many hundreds of years. I mean, they funded Ford, that funded Hitler, that sold cars and airplanes to the Germans as well as the Americans. I mean, if you really study the big companies in America that are still like A.B. Farvin or whatever became Bayer, they were making the gas that was killing the Jews. Fucked up. But yet, when that was over, we went, oh, okay. And Ford stayed there making cars. That's, they were making money over there. So then the rebuilding of Europe and Germany and all these places became a giant sinkhole of money, that they were filling all these craters from the bombs with money. And so Ford and all these companies made more fucking money than imaginable. So the banks were funding both sides, or all three sides, or all the sides that are involved in a war. The bankers are funding that. So they are the deep state. Make no mistake. And so what they're doing now is they're just looking at the game going, well, America, hey, they kind of fucked in America, and big banks are in China too. So they might go, well, let's start hedging our bet toward China, toward this country, toward that country. And America will become the next fucking disaster, like Germany after the war, like Russia when it collapsed. They don't care. I mean, you and I think, well, I don't want that to happen to America. I don't want America to be like the Soviet Union was in the 90s when it collapsed and there was just corruption and it was horrible. Now they've cleaned it all up. I'd like to be what they are today. I know you might hate, Russia, but they have done a 180 on their economy and their freedoms and their liberties because they were always kind of a capitalist pseudo, republic until the communists came in and fucked everything all up. But if you study their history, doing good, fucked. Because the communists went, look at all this money. Let's sell the people on communism, and then we'll have all that money at our disposal to do fucked up shit. And I thought, Germany, was a flash in the pan. No, Germany, all these bunkers I'm watching in this Mysteries of the Abandoned, oh my God. They had miles of tunnels under this country or that country or over here or, I was watching a thing on the Fox Lair, which was bunker, Hitler's private bunker. I mean, the walls were 8 foot thick of concrete. 8 foot. I mean, they bombed and shelled the fuck out of that after the war to try to make it to where, nobody could use it. So the Germans were trying to blow the fuck out of that place. Put some cracks in the walls. 8 feet is a lot of hardened concrete. So that wasn't built with free. Yeah, they had slave labor, all their, people they are, captured, whatever they did. They were busy killing Jews. But everyone else, they put to work in these little countries they took over. So as Germany expanded, so did their giant underground bunkers. You'd have to watch some of that. It's on prime time. Mysteries of the Abandoned. It's like 8 or 9 seasons, and it's there's some cool places. Like the guy that was a recording studio, moved to this little island, built this giant recording studio, which I'd never heard of this guy, but it was Ayers Production, and he produced albums from everyone, Paul McCartney, all these people. My favorite album, Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms. The sound quality on that thing will just, and it's moving. It sounds so good. It was some shitty little island. Well, a hurricane fucked it all up. But, so it just looks like a giant house that's, got no roof on it anymore because of the hurricane and some other disaster years later, so he didn't rebuild. It's just, you have to watch it. But the history of the war, and as you watch it, you can go back as far as you want. Some of these ruins they find where, they built this tunnel system in this mountain of granite, and then there was an earthquake and the front fell off of it, and then you could see all these chambers that were in there. They built that for war because they thought some fuckers were coming to attack them. So obviously there's money and free labor in wars. And your leaders will abuse the fuck out of them. And so I think they're taking AI and the economy and banking and our housing. And if you're looking at it in a sinister, cynical kind of way, you're going to go, holy fuck. They're coming for us here in America. Us. U.S. Us. And they're gonna tank our economy because you can only skim off the profits for so long, and then you have to move on. And the World Bank's gonna go, okay, there's other countries with more money. We tried to collapse Russia, so maybe we'll just go in and buy it. And they'll start their manipulation game like they've been doing in America for 80 years, and try to fuck it up again, because Russia was a very dominant economic power back in the days. Now you're probably saying, Mark, why do you talk about Russia all the time? Well, I did explain to you that Russia, I don't know if it was Catherine the Great or one of them, helped fund, what we were doing here in America, and met with George Washington and gave America, the early colonies, a bunch of money because they said, this is a great thing you're doing. Because, see, they were that way too, and they wanted to make things head that direction. Not in a hegemony state. They just go, here's some money, good luck, man. So when we, the fuck-ups that we are, went to war with ourselves over slavery in the Civil War, which you have to wonder, like, how did that happen? Well, it was because of our politicians were like, no, no, no. They didn't want to share their candy. And the candy was cotton candy. And so, we kept the slavery, even though all men were created equal. That was one of them hot button issues they couldn't address back in the ratification of the Constitution, because then they couldn't have ratified it. So they just kind of pushed that as like, go over there outside there where the sun's coming up, and we'll figure this out later. And because, the South didn't like that in a lot of those colonies there. Now, there were only 13 original colonies, and maybe they should have kind of kept an eye on it as it was growing, into the South. But no, there were people who go in New York and stuff, they're like, hey, that cotton's fucking, there's a lot of money in that shit. That was white gold back then. So, all the ports were being built in New York, and the lighthouses and all that, and in the South, they weren't getting ports built for receiving, so they were shipping the cotton out and over to New York. And then any monies being allocated were not being allocated to the South for their seaports and stuff. And they're like, hey, we're growing all this cotton and shipping it to you motherfuckers for your mills and stuff. And that was one of the main trigger things also, was about money and ports and lighthouses. So where was I? Oh, you're talking about Russia and all that. But so during the Civil War, Russia protected our ports. They brought their warships in. Not just one or two of them, like little signs like, I am Russian and I'm going to stop you, Spain, from going into America and fucking with them while they're down and out and trying to figure out their own problems. No, they had warships in the Gulf of Mexico, California, to just keep them, because California was still part of Spain and Mexico back then, and we hadn't gotten that far completely. I mean, a lot of the states in the West became states after the Civil War. So they had ships there, warships. I mean, they had a pretty fucking substantial navy, and also along the coastline and the ports in New York, and in the East and the West and the South. You don't have to worry about Canada, because it's fucking Canada. But that was Russia. Those are the people that we now think are fucking asshat fucktards. They were, Anglo-Saxons, Catholics, the same people we left from. They're from Europe. We all came from Russia way back, years and years ago, across the Bering Straits, or whatever they call that, where Alaska and Russia touch. And during the winter, that ice bridge is only about 4 or 5 miles long, where people walked across, and that's where a lot of the people migrated from back in the Paleolithic time or whatever. Now, this is all speculation. I mean, they got rocks and bones and shit that they can prove it, but either way, why do we hate them? They're really our brother from a different mother, and we shouldn't just hate them. And a lot of people we can hate. There are fucktards out there abundantly, but not them. We shouldn't hate China. We shouldn't really hate on anyone. Which leads me to my next, kind of story that I saw, that like food banks are like the new boom, or is it bust? I mean, it's a sign of bust, really. Food banks can't keep up, and they're growing like exponentially. Like if it was a fast food chain, you'd be buying stock in it and going, what the fuck, man? These food banks are popping up everywhere. You know what that says? We're fucked. I mean, if there's a food bank in your neighborhood and then they build 4 more, well, it's not like people are running out and buying Starbucks coffee from the food bank. No, people are losing their jobs and they're hurting financially. They're fucked. So that's becoming a new craze in a very bad way across America. And you can read stories about it and all that about me. So, as spite of how good everybody wants us to believe it is, it's not. And in spite of the fact that I love Trump beyond most people would understand, because he's a good guy, he's gonna fix a lot of things, but he's not gonna fix all of it. Like this house, the original house over that end, is 125 years old. It was built originally in 1900. So it's 125 years old. It's built on a very solid foundation, but then there was a flood. It picked the house up. It fucked up the stem walls. It pulled half of the house over 6 inches, in 15 feet. It fucked it all up. We fixed it up and prettied it up a lot in the last 20 years. But you know what? The foundation was hurt and damaged a long time ago. And I've gotten under there with, jack stands and pylons and to where I can adjust it and get it level again. But every 2 years, the side over by the kitchen sinks an inch because the ground moves and you can't put enough footing underneath it. The Walmart here that they built in Benson was, they scraped out 15 feet of the soil and built it up with this highly compactive magic sawdust or whatever the fuck it was. And it's sinking. So you can't win against Mother Nature. This is a kind of an area by what used to be a giant river. And, maybe a million years ago this was underwater. There's still little seashells everywhere. So, well, I don't know. So you can't win. So America and Trump being the handyman is going to come in and he's going to pretty it up and do a lot of good for us. But if we don't realize that the foundation is deteriorating, and we could do a lot of things to do it, but like I said in my last podcast, if I'm running to fix the foundation and I'm explaining to you the cost of this 3,000 square foot house and a new foundation and rebuilt footings and kind of leveled up and maybe pick up the whole fucking house and try to get it square, or at least make sure what was added on is secure and all that, well, it's going to be a lot of money. See, I'm not going to sell my wife on that at all. She's like, it's fucking fine. Stiffen it up and let's put a new fucking wall up there and let's build a craft room up here and because that's fun money to spend. See, because now when you're all done, look at my fucking craft room I built. Even the paneling. We put that up. We put the lights in. Put the fans in. Anyway, tooting my own horn. So, when you're a politician, you can do a lot of cool shit that people look at and go, yeah, we need to spend a lot of money on AI, because I don't understand it, but I got a friend that's using AI, and he's making a couple $1,000 a month, just have an AI screen his leads and contact his leads, and email his leads, and send him stuff, to where then he can make money off of these people. So it does all the legwork. So a lot of people like AI. Oh, well then let's spend 500 fucking billion, almost $1 trillion on AI in America. And then all of a sudden China says, oh, we got Deepseek that we only spent $6 million to build these giant AI supercomputers. I don't know what you're doing over there, but obviously, as usual, you've tripled the price, and then you built it so complicated and all this shit that it's now $500 billion to get Stargate or whatever the fuck they're going to call it up and running. China's like, we already did that. So they could be an enemy. I don't know. I mean, China's been here a lot longer than we have, and if they wanted to take over the world, they would have. I mean, they got 1 billion more people than we do in America, so they They could have owned this. We could have leased this land from China. Instead of going to war with England, we would have went to war with China because they owned it. No. Who owned it? England. We had to go to war with them. England, you know, the world didn't set on English soil back then. So where was China? They still had 1 billion people back then, or probably 10 times more than England. England's a little fucking island with some boats. China had boats. They don't want conquest. They're just happy. You know, if you see a group of people that are just happy, and your neighbor, he's got a house, his wife's happy, his kids are happy, they're well fed, they go to school, they got nice clothes, but you know, their yard's a little fucking messed up because they got 4 dogs and they barbecue. I'm talking about my neighbor over here. You know, barbecues, you know, on the outside of his fence, and his friends come and visit and all that. They're fucking happy. People don't like them because, well, they just seem to be like they're fucking hillbillies. We're watching a series on it's not the Rosicrucians, but it was a group of people that bought a bunch of land, like 800 acres in Oregon, by Antelope, Oregon. And overnight they built this giant city. I mean, it took them less than a year. I mean, schools, libraries, houses. I mean, you know, America probably looked at that and went, what the fuck's wrong with us? You know, they're doing it, why can't we? So for the last how many years they've been in court because they're like, well, we don't like you and you believe in free love and you're a bunch of Indian, you know, dot, not feather Indians. And we just don't like you. You guys seem to be really fucking happy. And your crime rate is 0. And you people maybe have 2 beers a day, if that. They don't drink. They're not alcoholics. They have no crime, kind of like Remax, and no cells. And so the people being, you know, fucking American rednecks are just like, well, I don't like them. You know, they're just heathens. They have sex with people. They bought this land out there, and they're out there nude sunbathing. That's the devil. And then all of a sudden it starts. See, that's the devil. I don't like my neighbor. He's the devil. Well, he's really happy. He's got a good job. He's got beautiful children. Yeah, have you checked into them kids? They're a little fucked up. Well, I don't know. They're getting straight A's. Sure, because their daddy's the high school coach. See, so they'll always twist it. So if you're doing good, Americans are the most pig-headed, chauvinistic, bigoted asshats I have ever seen. And if you study history long enough, you will see that all the problems in the world were pretty much caused by us for the last 100 years, since we became something to look at and recognizable. Before that, it was England. It wasn't Russia and it wasn't China. So if you watch that about that, it's called Wild Wild Country. And I think it is on Netflix. It's interesting because so far they have done nothing wrong, but they incorporated and became a city. Well, I guess then they're saying, well, you can't do that because you're funded and ran by a religious organization. Oh, like the Vatican. I mean, throughout history, they list off hundreds of cities that, you know, Salt Lake City, any of them, you can look at it and go, you know, Boston or whatever was basically run by the Catholic Church back then. You know, but no, and so they had to go to court. Well, they had, you know, a couple lawyers in their group, and then they started training and building up this legal organization where they just buried the fucking state in legal filings. And finally, you know, so they said, well, you can't, that land is zoned agriculturally. You can't have a city on agricultural land. It's like, oh, like the town of fucking Antelope, which is like miles down the road, is a town with a city council and a police department, and that's all farmers and ranchers too. So it's just, you watch it and it's just like, we're fucking with you, we're fucking with you, we're fucking with you, we're fucking with you. Why? We don't like you. We don't like the fucking clothes you wear. We don't like the fact that you're always running around singing and happy and fucking shit. It's like my neighbor. Him and his wife always wave. They're real happy. Their kids are playing. You know, and there's people, well, you can keep an eye on them people. I got my own fucking family to keep an eye on. So, when you're looking for a futuristic collapse, it's already here, and it's happening slowly. So, my last story I wanted to kind of go into is all of this combined. Telemarketers. Howdy, my name is Potential Spam. I'm Mr. Spam. I'm Potential's father. And I got a deal for you. Well, actually, not even talk to me. It's going to be a fucking robocall. So, as Christians, we should love our neighbor. I thought that was in some of the teachings. Now, as I study American history, I look back and go, we're kind of fucktards. I mean, straight up. And we call ourselves blessed and all that shit. God bless America. He's going to save us. He's going to come and save us. Why the fuck would he do that when we're no better than anyone else? In fact, if you believe in the God of the Bible and Christians, you know, like an all-loving Father thing, and you're him. Let's say you're him. God. Not blasphemy here. I'm just saying you're one of his advisors. And you're overseeing earth. Because, you know, he's got works without end. So he's a busy motherfucker. So he's got you as an overseer. And you've been watching this history that I just went over for thousands of years. And you're like, well, out of all of those yahoos you keep an eye on, who is blessed? Well, America. Well, why is that? Bob? Well, because they kill everyone. They're always at war and they hate everybody because they're not Christians and they're not singing your praises and they're not. It's like, well, that doesn't make them good. I mean, personally, my life, I've met a lot of religious people I wouldn't trust with 10 fucking cents, and I wouldn't let them fucking babysit my daughters back then either, because they're just a little bit weird. Judgment call, just saying, but, you know, I just, no, sorry. I have a right to say no and no. So it's like, well, what about these people over here? Oh, those Chinese people? Well, they haven't done anything in years. I mean, they haven't killed their neighbors. There's a few wars they went into, but that was because they were invaded by their fucktard neighbors. And they were pretty ruthless. They killed them. They killed them. It's like, well, sounds like they had good reason to defend themselves. Well, yeah, but they're Chinese. Look at them. They just don't look like you and I. It's like, well, they're my children, and yeah, they do look like us. Aggregately, you know. So why are they? Well, you know, you got these Russian people over there, right above China, and they're all kind of alike in a lot of ways, but they're more like the European looking. And I think Chinese look a little different because of the sunshine. I don't know. God, sorry. I'll look into it for you. It's like, well, what about them? Well, they're really nice, but they're Russia. Russia. Didn't you watch the news, bother? So, now that just, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of going out there and kind of venting, you know. Kind of like the economic ninja says, squirrel. But can you honestly look in the mirror of what you know? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the Christian of them all? You're going to say it's America? Come on, please. You know, so if you look at the world through the eyes of what could be interpreted as God-like, Christian God-fearing. You're going to say we have a track record where we're blessed among all others? Sure, when we started out, we were doing great. And then all of a sudden, we had to say, I don't like them motherfuckers over there. Look at that. What the fuck's he doing over there? Well, it looks like he's playing ball with his friends. Yeah, that's not a park. Can't play ball in a sandlot. That's not a park. We got a park. What the fuck's wrong with him? We need to stop it. We need to do something about it. And if that's you, then you need to do something about it. It being your fucked up life. And I'm not calling for repentance, because you all know that I'm not Christian in that sense. I believe in God, a higher power. I don't know his name or her name. I don't even care. You know why? Because he wiped that from my memory. He's like, for a while, it's going to be like you're hypnotized. And when you wake up, you're going to be on earth and you're not going to remember any of this shit. And all I want you to do when I count 3 is be born and don't be a fucktard. And you'll have a gift up in your head that will tell you right from wrong. But if you choose not to listen to it, just like your body when it comes to health, then you're going to get sick or you're going to get in trouble. 1, 2, 3. And then we woke up here and we were born. And then once we realized that we're no longer crying and pooping our diapers, and we go, wow, I'm alive. I think, therefore I am, or whatever that expression is. And then we start living our lives, but we don't remember. I'm that kind of a religious person. I know, pretty much beyond reasonable doubt, there's something out there. And if they wanted me to know what it was, they wouldn't have hypnotized me before I came down here. Because see, it's all part of a plan. You're going to go down there and you're going to prove your worth to me. You're on probation down there for 80, 90, 100 years, however long you fucking live. And then when you come back, you'll go, why did I do that? It was so easy and I went and fucked it all up. It's like, yeah, you started thinking too much. It's like sports metaphors. You got into a funk and you couldn't get out of it. And every time you saw the other player's socks, if they were down a little bit, you started batting bad because it was a funk. It's a streak. It's like, man, and it was so easy. All I had to do was just eat, drink, breathe, be nice to my neighbor. That's right. But I got all caught up in that. You know, he was weird looking. I'm sorry, God, but there was something about him. It's like, yeah, there was. He was just like you, fucked up and confused. Yeah. Can I try it again? No, now we're going on to 4th grade. But don't worry. We have eons of time. Millennial. I don't know if eon is a thing in physics. I don't think it has to do with time as much as quantity. Anyway, we have millions and millions and millions of years because it's eternity. So you'll figure it out. I mean, this whole experience here with me in heaven is the same as your hypnosis state on earth. You're going to figure things out. You're going to look back on that time on earth and go, God, what the hell was wrong with me during that world championship? I just couldn't get my head out of it. I was so worried about my stupid ass neighbor and that dude over there that's just a different color than I am. I don't know why, but it's not godlike because I'm created in his image and I assume he's white, just like me. And my neighbor keeps going, no, he's black, just like me. No, he's Mexican, just like me. No, his skin is yellow, just like me. Well, you know what? Then let's just kill each other. And we'll figure it out. It's like, awesome. You go for it. You draw first, fucktard. And in America, we've always drawn first. So that is the type of Christian I am. So you can't sit there and say, well, I don't care. Because I do. I care deeply about things that I don't understand. But I know they're important. They're not so important that I need to cheat on the test. All I need to do is realize it's a test. And try to be a good person. Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you stop worrying about your neighbor, whether he's next door or 4,000 miles across the planet, and stop worrying about what the fuck they're doing? Because you don't know. You're not there. You're not them. I'm not my neighbor. I don't know how much money he makes or does not make. I don't know if they're happy or if they're Christian or they're Mormon or they're Catholic or they're Jewish or they're Baptist or they're Methodist. None of my fucking business. And if he goes, well, I'm this religion and I believe that and we like to sing and dance and nude sunbathe. It's like, awesome. I gotta go. Your wife's laying there naked and I'm sorry. I'm human. She's pretty hot. I'm going to try not to offend you, and I'm going to go home. Oh, all right. Thanks, man. You're welcome. Come lay down. Have a beer with us. And that, in America's psyche, is just, well, it's fucked up. Because our psyche is so biblically based that you would feel guilty for having a beer with your neighbor while his wife runs around topless. He doesn't care. She doesn't care. But you do. Because that just ain't right. You shouldn't talk funny and you should be a different color. You shouldn't be that dark skin. You should be like me. I'm godlike. I can't have a beer with you in your naked wife because I'm married. And I might fornicate in my mind with your wife. It's like, well, you won't because that wouldn't matter to me. What'd matter to my uptight, self-righteous wife? Well, then that's your problem. All this stuff you're saying sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Well, I don't like you because you think weird, Dempsey. I gotta go. I hope you sell your house. I see you got it on sale. I hope you sell it and get the fuck out of my face. See you, Bob. Been nice knowing you. Is that who we are? I mean, only you can analyze your life, and this is the problem with Americans and people on Earth in general. You can't spend any time up here to figure out what the fuck is going on. Do you care that your neighbor's skin is a different color? And don't fucking lie to me and say, well, no, I don't care. I've never been that way. There's something about your neighbor that just rubs you wrong. And rather than go, oh, I wonder why he did that, go, you know, I'm gonna look into that and see if that applies to me, because maybe I've done that in a different way, but it was just as bad. Oh, well, about 20 years ago, yeah, I kind of did say something like that. Then I hurt someone's feelings, and they started crying, and I felt really bad. Huh, okay. Well, then me and my neighbor are just as fucked up. Well, that's cool. Now I can get along with him because I'm not special. And neither is he. We're just here. You know, you don't see the animals out there worrying about, you know, the big fucking weird spot on his face, do you? Like dogs, they're great. You know, they love each other. They love you. And you might be black, Mexican, brown, I guess what it's called. Black, brown, yellow, white, any of the other fucking colors in the rainbow. They don't care. Your dog, you love your dog unconditionally because it just sits there and licks your face. It's got that big ass fucking stupid spot on his face. And that's why they couldn't show that dog, because its ears were a little bit weird. It's not a show dog. Well, that's cool, because I got to buy that dog from you for $100 instead of $10,000 because its ears stood up better. I still got a kick-ass breed of dog, and I don't really give a fuck about how he looks. It's just a great dog. And I got it at the Safeway parking lot for free. That's kind of cool. Well, yeah, but he's got that big stupid fucking spot on his face. I'm sorry, I just can't get past that. I was talking to Bob, and one of his friends came up and started talking to me. He had this big birthmark on the side of his face, and I just couldn't stop looking at it. That's just fucking weird. Why did God do that to him? You know? I don't know. Might God do that to your stupid dog with that big fucking spot on his head? Do we spend too much time thinking about shit that is not our business? Now, as America, we do, because we're fucking America and we're supposed to fucking be busybodies. But you, in your home, in your neighborhood, do you teach your children that that's okay? Bob's got a big old fucking spot on his face. That's the cutest dog I've ever seen. Be that way with your neighbor. And if your neighbor, as the founding fathers used to say, doesn't break my bones or kill me, I don't give a fuck what he or she is doing over there. That's their property. This is your property. And if he doesn't care what you do and say, long as you don't break his bones and kill him, you can all just fucking get along in harmony. But it's not going to happen nationally. And the only reason it happened for so many years globally is because, well, we didn't know they were fucking over there. But now we do. So all you can do as a human, see, I'm a racist motherfucker. I believe in the human race. God created us, all of us, in his image. He said that. If you believe what you read, then he said that. So black, brown, yellow, red people are the same as you with your white skin, because we are all in God's image. Now, if you want to pick that apart and fuck it all up because you've got color problems, that's your fucked up problem. Can you look at it and go, I don't really care about any of this? See, this is what destroyed America, is getting up in everyone's face about what they're doing. That's why we have planning and zoning now. Because this is a nice neighborhood and we don't want them darkies moving in here. Well, they got the VA bill because they fought in the war to protect your stupid ass rights. It's like, well, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to create red line laws, or whatever they called it back then, in the name of planning and zoning. If anything is satanic, planning and zoning is Satan itself, because it just picked on breeds and class and fucked it all up. So you can't build a church on your property. In fact, I'll make you a thing, because I'm watching that movie about this the Rashi Jama or whatever, this guru back in the 80s. You can look it up. It's not like prehistoric. And well, you can't have a church run a city, and it's not zoned to be a city. Oh, well, I thought this was my property. Life, liberty, and property is what it used to say. But then the founding fathers changed it to happiness, because property grants happiness. You're happy to farm, happy to build, happy to raise a family. It was all of that. So it just wasn't property, because property entitled everything. Your guns, your rings, your money, your paintings, your house, your fans, your carpet. Everything is your property. And that meant happiness. So they go, life, liberty, and happiness. So go out. I mean, let's say that you got money and you want to prove that Mark Boyle is just a fucktard. Go out and buy a lot in a neighborhood. And then, because churches are in neighborhoods, so it's not bad. Now, if you want to open a bar, you might want to be in a different area because there are zoning laws. But let's ignore that for a minute and buy like 10 acres in Scottsdale or Beverly Hills or wherever it just burned up. I'm sure land's cheap there. And just start building a church. Just get a tractor and start scraping the dirt down where it was all burned up and shit. And then you talk to a builder and go, oh, is that the sewer line? Can I tap into that? It was built for 20 homes here, and I'm just going to have a church here on this 20 lots. So should flush fine. Just start doing it. Just fucking go for it. Prove me wrong. Because the city will swarm in eventually and go, I don't know what you're doing, but apparently we don't like it. Well, I'm going to build a church. What church? Well, I got freedom of religion. Okay, fine. I'm not going to ask you that question. How big's it going to be? Well, let's see. I'm planning on expanding, so I'm going to say 2,000 congregants. Well, I don't know if you got enough land here for 2,000 cars to park on it. Well, they'll walk from the neighborhood. No, no, no. You have to have parking for every one of those people. Well, some of them are kids. Doesn't matter. That's the rules. You're going to have 1,000 people there, then we're going to assume you're going to have 500 cars here, at minimum. We'd like more. So that is, your whole lot that can't even have a parking lot for that. You need more land. Well, okay, I'll scale it down. We'll only have 100. Oh, okay, that'll fit. And they're just not going to leave you alone. Trust me. They will find every reason to say, we don't want your fucking church here because you guys all sing and dance and sunbathe nude up on the roof. You got a wall around it, at least my neighbor can't see it. But some of them kids got drones, they're going to fly over there and see your naked body up there. That would get them sued in federal court. Like that. So they're not going to say that. They're just going to say, you can't have a flat roof on that building. Why not? It might leak. So what the fuck do you care if it leaks? No, it might leak. That's a health hazard. Well, we'll build it like a deck on top, so the roof will be pitched, and then we'll just have a flat with a wall around. Well, you can't have that. That's the widow's watch law. You can't have a widow's watch in this neighborhood. A what? Well, in the old shipping yards, them homes, they had that thing that ran across the roof, so the wives could look out for their husband to return on the fishing ships. It's called a widow's watch, because that's usually where they were when they found out their husband's boat wasn't coming back and it sank. The widow's watch law. You can't have that up there. Well, we're going to be up there sunbathing. Oh, you can't do that. That interferes with drone laws, all this shit. So prove me fucking wrong. In fact, if you're a city bureaucrat fucktard, you go out there and show me somewhere in America, out in the middle of barren fuck nowhere, where I could just build a church without kissing your fucking ring. You show me. You prove it to me. You send me at mark@prepperguy.com all the documentation that I could just go out there and build on my private property a church, a fucking ranch, a this, a that, or any other thing, just a fucking corn silo out there without kissing your fucking ring or some bureaucrat asshat's ring to pay the money to have freedom of religion. Or I'm going to go out and buy 10,000 acres out here in the middle of fucking nowhere, and I'm going to build a newspaper and a radio station. Well, which one is it? Well, it's going to be both. No, you can't do that. You can't commingle those. Says who? Me and my fucking bureaucrat friends. But I have freedom of press, freedom of religion. In fact, I'm thinking on that corner of the property building a church. Oh, well, no, you are not. So prove me wrong that America has not become more fucking fascist than anyone in history that we went to war with and lost a lot of precious blood and lives. Prove me fucking wrong. Just fucking do it. I dare you. So this is the problem in America, that all of those things I talked about have brought on us. And it's because we're not religious anymore. We're Christian, we're Catholic, we're Baptist, we're Mormon, we're all this shit. Does not matter, because God don't care. We are not his children anymore. We are a bunch of fucktards. And I'm sure if he used that kind of language, which that word doesn't mean anything to him, bad or good, he would tell us, no, I don't like the way you're living. But that was the whole purpose of the maze. Don't worry about it. Just keep thinking about it and stop being a fucktard, and you'll make it into heaven because Jesus atoned for your stupidity. He didn't just atone for your sins, because another word for, like a synonym for sin is stupid. So he atoned for your stupidity. You're going to get into heaven because that's the plan. I'm not dumbing down the curve so everyone passes, because there is no pass-fail in this thing. There's just, you get a body, you move on. And all of those things that people tried to teach you, I'm not going to call them prophets because that's probably bullshit too, because his plan was quite succinct. I'm going to build them a home, build earth. I saw matter unorganized, and I said, let there be light, and I built this fucking place for you. It was like, I guess he didn't have planning and zoning to deal with. So I built this, you're all here, don't be fuck-ups. Well, what if we are fuck-ups? Because this all happened in the great debate in heaven. Well, you can't be. All you're doing down there is just showing up. If I throw you in the water to experience swimming, I don't care if you drowned, because it's going to end like that, and now you've experienced that. There's a lot to experience in my universe, and this is a great testing ground for you to experience everything. Being vain, being stupid, being heinous, being a murderer, being anything, because none of that matters, because when you get back up here, you're going to see the stupid folly of your ways. And then we'll move on. You know why? Because I'm God. You can't screw up enough to fuck up my plan. I don't have a contingency plan for you failing, because it is virtually impossible for you to fail on that planet. Even if you were born dead, stillborn, you got your body. And now through the rest of eternity, you will experience the temptations, the torment, the whatever, for having a physical body. And you know why I believe that? Because when Jesus was crucified, and Moses and all these guys, they ascended to heaven and sat. They didn't float. It doesn't say they floated around. They sat at the right hand of God. God has a chair to sit on, and Jesus sat next to him. He didn't float around near him. Because then they would have wrote that down, right? No. He sat at the right hand of God. Well, what you're telling me is God has a hand? Like this kind of hand? Yeah, maybe it's even physical, because he's setting. Is there gravity where he lives? Must be. So it's not a nebulous 8th dimension out there. He actually can set. There's the rules of physics and gravity. Well, apparently so. That's what your Bible says. Sat at the right hand of God. So as God is, we can become, because we have hands also. So we are built, born, raised, created in his image. And that happens at the moment of conception. You start growing fingers. You start growing digits, toes, organs. And if that pregnancy continues to term, you're born with a hand. And so you can slice and dice that any way you want, really. But to me, a simple-minded fucktard with probably pretty low IQ can figure this out by studying religion most of my life. I didn't read all the fucking books. I didn't go to college to become a theologian. I just watch my neighbors. I watch you. I watch everyone. I listen to stuff and I go, why the fuck are them people in Oregon treating those Rosicrucians that way, or whoever they are? I don't know. Raja, Rami, Swami, something. Look it up. Wild, wild country. And you watch that, and you don't pontificate on it, you just watch it. And if you block out all of the words that are being said, and you just go, this guy's saying they're heathens, but based on what? Oh, his interpretation of the Bible. Oh, wow. So they're heathens. No. They're saying, oh, well, they were buying guns and training, kind of like Waco. Well, why did they do that? Well, I don't know. After 15 years of being fucked with, they said, you know what? You blew up a hotel that we owned because it was our hotel. And people bombed it, and the state did nothing. So I guess the state probably sat back and laughed about it also. So we're going to have our own police department and our own guns and all that, and we're going to train so you can't come and hurt us anymore. Now that is just simple self-defense. So I don't know. Yes, later on did they do some things that were bad against the state? Apparently so. I haven't watched the last 2 episodes. But this is after 15 years of being picked on and tormented and screwed with and harassed and sued. So much so that most of your people in that area had to become lawyers and go to law school and study so they could be at least paralegals, because they had real lawyers that had passed the bar in Oregon a long time ago, filing these thousands and thousands of briefs to just bury the state in red tape. Because bureaucrats have a lot of red tape, but eventually they start running out of funds and the voters go, what are you doing? And considering in that county, most of the voters were these people, yeah, they won by virtue of just burying them on one case. Federal government got involved. You're not going to bury them in shit. Because if anyone can take your freedom and fuck it beyond belief, it's the federal government. And if you think I'm crazy, George Washington, one of the main guys of America, the first, well, wasn't really the first president, because there were other presidents during the Confederacies and what do they call that? The Confederation, not the Confederate Army, the Articles of Confederation, which created a quasi-government until they became more advanced. That's not working. We have to do this. George Washington. What did he do for a living? Well, first of all, yes, he did own a plantation. Yes, he had slaves because they were there when America wasn't even around. And he gave them all their freedom and they were treated really well. But no, he's a fucking racist. Okay. He made whiskey. He was a brewer like Jim Beam and Jack Daniels. The only difference was he didn't have a license from the government because they didn't fucking exist yet. And everyone that sold his whiskey, I guess now you could call bootleggers. Fucking bootleggers. They'd put that whiskey on their truck and their horse, and they'd take it to Bob's house. Or Bob would come and get a bunch of it and sell it at his store. Wow. Our first president was a fucking moonshiner, and all his friends were bootleggers. And that was okay. So don't tell me America has not fallen so far from the original intent that you can't even recognize it. We've fallen, hit bottom, and bounced so many times that there is nothing recognizable when you grab it by its hair and look at its face and go, that's not my Uncle Sam. I don't know who that is. So I just wanted to talk on those things, with the AI and what's coming. And this is all coming from me on a kind of a spiritual sense. It's like you need to be looking out for number one, and that's you and your family. And don't worry about your neighbor thinking you're weird because you like to barbecue in the rain and you have a big umbrella and all your kids are just playing and having a great fucking time. Because that might be weird to me, but it shouldn't be to you. And it really shouldn't be to me. So think about it all. We are coming around to some fucked up times. America is about to collapse like the Soviet Union did. Just like England when the pound sterling was no longer the reserve currency of the fucking world. Study those incidences and see how bad it was when great empires collapsed, like Rome, the Byzantine Empire. Empires have been falling apart for thousands of years, all because they were run by stupid fucktards just like us. But look at the damage that was wrought on that way of life for a while. And then everybody just walked off. It's just like your fucking house is on fire. And everyone's like, wow, you okay? Let me help you get your dog. Let me do this. If you need anything, let me know. And 2 days later, they're all gone. Your house is a pile of ash. And that's it. And if you don't have insurance, well, unless you're Amish, they're not going to come help you rebuild. I'd like to help you, Mark. I'm busy. Just like when you're moving, and all your friends are going to help you move, and then on the day of the move, you call them up and go, oh, my truck broke down. I'm not feeling good. So, America is going to go through that. It's already happening. Trump can patch it up and put drywall and putty on all the holes and shit, but that hole, you can't patch it. It's structural damage. And you can paper over it all you want. But when it collapses, your life, my life, our children and grandchildren's lives will be disrupted in a way that most people haven't seen since at least the fall of Rome. Because England, we didn't really care about them, because we'd done it to them, so we didn't really cry over spilt milk. Russia collapsed because they were communists, and then they became what they are now, which is a federation, which is a republic almost, except they have different rules than our republic. But they're doing pretty good. And that's about as far back we talk about Rome. Well, Rome this, Rome that, Rome. Because we learned about it in school. We didn't learn much about it, but we learned about it. England, no one even talks about England and the collapse, but I was listening to a podcast by the Duran, like, the Duran, the old 80s group. And he said, the one guy, Alexander Mercurus, I think, said, he lives there. He goes, that was the worst thing that ever happened when the pound sterling went to nothing because people quit using it and we all switched to the dollar. And Americans just was, well, sucks to be you. So, this is what's going to happen. Sorry. And I talk about this because I'm still a prepper. And I think everybody should be a prepper to a point, not a survivalist freak, just prepper. Be watching what's on the horizon. It's like driving. If you're not looking 3 miles ahead and all you're doing is focusing on right there, you're going to run into that semi that just pulled out in front of you because you're looking at reading his tail. What does that say? Bob is funny. No, it's not that. It's boom. So you got to be looking out as far as you can see. And as you get closer, it'll start making sense to you. Anyway, I'm done ranting. I think I've milked that conversation as much as I can. I'm still working on some other ones, the Patriot sermons and stuff about the Constitution and all that. But right now, I just wanted to say, if you're not paying attention, that RE/MAX sold like 71% of them sold that many homes in 2024, then you're not looking ahead. You're not seeing that semi way up there. If you don't see what's happening with this Deepseek and China just changing the game on AI and how NVIDIA lost 800 million, and it's almost a billion or dollars in whatever it was in the stock market, then you're not paying attention. So they're going to sit there and go, this is all China's fault. We need to blow them motherfuckers up. They're funny looking. So pay attention. Are food banks on the rise in your hometown? Probably, if you looked around. Your neighbor that, is living way beyond his means. Well, I'm selling my house. Why? Because you're going broke? No. Not that. Then, you'll see that things are changing. And with lower interest rates, thank you, Trump, our money will become worth less or just worthless. But people will be able to borrow through this next year or two on, increased credit lines and stuff. Because if you're just hanging on by a thread and you grab another couple threads, you're going to have hope that you're going to live. But every year goes by, that thread gets rottener, and you're not getting any more. In fact, you're losing them. That's what it's like. So cheap money will help people borrow more money to maybe prop up building trades a little bit more, or get you another, higher credit rating or limit on your master charge so you can buy more groceries. But it's all a Band-Aid on a hemorrhaging arterial bleed. So it can't go on forever. You know it, I know it, anyone in their right mind knows it. What happens next, we don't know. But it's not going to be pretty, so study history. Because what happened to the Byzantines, the Romans, England, Russia, I don't know. There's so many empires that have come and gone. And they end badly. That's why they end. So I'll talk to you later. I love you guys. Hope this helped you a little bit. And maybe I'll edit it down to get some of the psychobabble out of it. But probably not. You guys enjoy. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
We've made too many compromises already. Too many retreats. They invade our space, and we fall back.
I'm your huckleberry.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
That's just my game.